How to become mentally unshakable in a world that wants you weak. The Stoic Manifesto. In a world where silence is feared, where stillness is seen as unproductive, and where the very soul is drowned beneath an endless stream of notifications, distractions, anxieties, obligations, and expectations, there arises a quiet rebellion, not with protest, not with noise, but with presence, clarity, and deep, unshakable strength that comes from mastering the one thing modernity wants you to forget: your mind. And this is Stoia, where ancient wisdom meets the madness of modern life, where you and I, seekers of inner peace and impenetrable strength, take back control from a society that profits off our weakness. What if I told you that you were born free, born with clarity, born with the kind of resilience emperors envied, but over time, you were domesticated, shaped, bent, and programmed to chase what you don't need, fear what isn't real, and depend on systems designed not to liberate you but to consume your attention, your willpower, your sense of self. The modern world doesn't want you still, it wants you spinning. It doesn't want you to question, it wants you to scroll. It doesn't want you to think for yourself, it wants you to react. But amidst the chaos, a voice from 2,000 years ago still whispers, quietly, courageously, and urgently, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That voice is Marcus Aurelius. We think Stoicism is old, dusty, outdated, but look again. Stoicism is not an escape from the world, it's a weapon to master it. It's not passive acceptance, it's radical responsibility. It's not apathy, it's emotional control in a world that profits from your emotional chaos. Today we live in a culture that tells you to chase everything outside you. The perfect body, the viral status, the relationship, the bank balance, the validation, the image, the illusion, while secretly robbing you of the one thing that determines all of it, your state of mind. Social media didn't invent envy, it weaponized it. Capitalism didn't invent insecurity, it industrialized it. Technology didn't invent distraction, it mastered it. And you sitting there wondering why you're anxious, why you feel behind, why you feel lost, are actually reacting perfectly to a sick system designed to overload your nervous system, distract your spirit, and disconnect you from yourself. But Stoicism? Stoicism is the antidote. It's not just quotes on Instagram, it's not about looking wise, it's about living wisely. When Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them," he was giving you the ultimate freedom, because the modern world constantly throws things at you, but you still get to decide what they mean. When Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality," he was warning us long before the age of anxiety, algorithms, and overthinking that our biggest enemy is often within. And when Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor burdened with the weight of an empire, took time to write daily reminders to himself, reminders to stay calm, humble, grateful, and composed, it was proof that no amount of power or prestige exempts you from the need to master the self. And that's why I created Stoia, not as a channel, but as a sanctuary. A place where we will explore the real application of Stoic philosophy in the modern world, not as passive ideas to admire, but as fierce disciplines to live by. We will face the dark truths of society. We will dismantle illusions. We will train the mind like a muscle. We will find stillness not as an escape, but as a strategy. We will meditate not to transcend, but to reclaim. We will ask questions that disturb comfort and invoke transformation. Because here's the truth, the modern world doesn't need more people chasing trends, it needs more people grounded in truth. It needs minds that can't be manipulated, hearts that don't panic, spirits that don't fold under pressure. It needs you, Not a distracted version of you, not a scared version of you, not a shallow, addicted, approval-hungry version of you, but the version of you that is whole, present, calm, and powerful beyond measure. And you won't find that version through endless scrolling, or the next dopamine hit, or by trying to become what society says you should be. You find it in stillness, in truth, in discomfort, in practice, in philosophy, in the ancient but eternal truths of Stoicism. And that's what we'll do, week by week, idea by idea, breath by breath, because Stoicism isn't dead, it's just been waiting for this moment, waiting for people like you who are done with surface-level living. Here we'll study the lives of the Stoic giants, not as distant sages, but as our guides in this chaos. We'll dive into Marcus Aurelius's meditations and extract strategies for today's mind. We'll study Seneca's letters and learn how to thrive in a hostile world. We'll reflect with Epictetus and dismantle the false beliefs society has implanted in us since childhood. And we'll blend it all with neuroscience, mindfulness, breath work, and the most practical techniques to forge a mind that cannot be enslaved. This isn't about being perfect. This is about becoming aware. It's not about being emotionless. It's about no longer being controlled by emotion. It's not about rejecting society. It's about transcending the parts of it that keep you small. You don't need to escape the world. You just need to stop letting it run you. Through every video, every episode, every lesson, we will do the work that truly matters, not chasing the external, but mastering the internal. Because if you can control your breath, you can control your thoughts. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your emotions. And if you can control your emotions, you can control your life. This is not motivation. This is not hype. This is not escape. This is the return to self. So whether you are lost in overthinking, battling self-doubt, overwhelmed by modern life, anxious about the future, or simply craving a deeper way to live, welcome home. You're not broken. You're just buried beneath the noise. And together, we will remove everything that is not truly you. Not with rage, but with reason. Not with fear, but with fire. Not with chaos, but with calm. So subscribe not just for content, but for transformation. Join not just for ideas, but for a movement. A new philosophy for a new age. One that honors the wisdom of the past, applies it to the madness of the present, and builds the unshakable human of the future. Your mind, your power, your peace. Welcome to the beginning. But let us pause here, just for a breath. Not to be dramatic, not to be poetic for the sake of aesthetics, but because in this single, precious, passing moment of silence, there is a reminder that life, in its rawest, most unfiltered essence, does not scream for our attention, but gently waits for us to notice it, to witness it, to inhabit it fully. And yet, how often do we miss it because we're too busy surviving to actually live? And so we chase productivity as if rest were weakness, chase relevance as if invisibility were death, chase perfection as if flaws were failure, while all the while forgetting that our deepest strength has never lived in what we accomplish, but in how we remain centered when the world demands that we lose ourselves. This is the truth of our age, that we are rewarded for appearing busy rather than being intentional, for reacting quickly rather than responding wisely, for accumulating more rather than simplifying deeply. And yet, the soul does not thrive on noise, the spirit does not bloom in speed, and the mind does not grow in chaos, but in deliberate, conscious confrontation with truth. And that truth, if we are brave enough to face it without flinching, without fleeing, without numbing ourselves with distractions or fantasies, is that we have become estranged from ourselves, exiled from the very core of our being, prisoners of our own unexamined thoughts, dependent on the validation of strangers, and terrified of the quiet where all the answers live. It's no wonder that people today feel hollow, not because they are broken, not because they lack potential or motivation or passion, but because they have been conditioned to outsource their sense of meaning to systems that do not care if they suffer, as long as they continue to participate. Click, compare, consume, repeat. But that is why we turn to Stoicism. Not to romanticize the past, not to escape the present, but to reclaim a way of being that teaches us with brutal clarity and loving discipline that we do not need more things to be whole. We need fewer illusions. We do not need more comfort to feel peace. We need fewer attachments. We do not need more applause to feel worthy. We need to remember who we are when the world is silent and the noise has faded, and all that remains is our breath, our conscience, and our unshakable awareness. And here's the thing most people will never tell you because it doesn't sell well. Transformation is not glamorous. It is not quick, not trendy, not made for TikTok clips or self-help slogans. It is slow, gritty, confronting, and deeply internal. It begins when you stop blaming the world and start examining your reactions to it. It begins when you stop numbing your pain and begin listening to what it's trying to teach you. It begins when you stop asking, how do I change my circumstances, and start asking, how do I master myself so that no matter the circumstances, I remain free. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations for us. He wrote them for himself, to stay sane in a world of betrayal, death, war, politics, and endless uncertainty. And yet, 2,000 years later, here we are, facing different machines but the same inner demons: fear, anger, ego, desire, pride, attachment, and the ceaseless craving for more. Edging forward. And yet, the Stoics did not offer us a religion, nor a rule book, nor a rigid identity to assume. They offered us a compass, a lens, a way of seeing the world that transcends time, culture, and crisis, because it returns you to the only place power truly exists, the present moment, and your capacity to respond to it with reason instead of reaction. We will not speak to your mask, your ego, or your curated identity. We will speak to your essence, the part of you that is tired of pretending, tired of performing, tired of being ruled by your moods, by your doubts, by your past. Because we believe that strength is not found in the body, nor the bank account, nor the brand, but in the breath you take when life punches you in the chest and you choose, deliberately, not to panic, but to return, quietly, fiercely, to your center. And in that breath, in that moment, in that pause, you reclaim your sovereignty. We will journal, not to impress, but to remember. We will meditate, not to escape, but to anchor. We will reflect, not to overthink, but to deconstruct what no longer serves us. We will practice not for perfection, but for precision in living. Because the Stoic life is not about erasing emotion. It is about integrating it, about learning how to feel everything, yet be ruled by nothing. How to love without losing yourself, how to hurt without becoming bitter, how to struggle without becoming resentful. Life will test you, no matter how wise you become. You will lose people. You will make mistakes. You will be misunderstood. You will feel alone. But Stoicism doesn't promise you immunity from suffering. It promises that suffering will not define you, and that within every adversity there lies the seed of growth, of wisdom, of unshakable clarity, if only you choose to face it with courage, presence, and patience. So let this be your call to action, not to fight the world, but to fortify your mind. Not to shout louder, but to grow quieter, so that your presence becomes the loudest thing in the room. Not to become someone else, but to return to who you were before the world told you who to be. Because peace is not found in retreat, it is found in readiness. And purpose is not found in fantasy, it is found in discipline. This is not a channel. This is a training ground for the mind. This is not about views, it's about vision. Not for the faint-hearted, but for those willing to do the work. For those tired of shallow motivation and ready for deep, deliberate transformation. Welcome to Stoia, where stillness becomes strength, where clarity becomes power, where philosophy becomes fire, and where you finally become untouchable. So if something deep inside you stirred as you listened, if a part of you that's been long buried, long silenced, long ignored, suddenly opened its eyes, raised its head, and remembered what it feels like to be alive in the present, grounded in truth and anchored in something deeper than the world's noise, then this is your moment. Not just to listen, not just to consume, but to choose. Choose stillness over speed. Choose mastery over reaction. Choose depth over distraction. And if these words resonated with something silent and sacred inside you, I invite you, not with height, not with urgency, but with unwavering intention, to subscribe to this channel, to commit not to me, not to some algorithm, but to yourself, to your mind, your presence, your awakening, and your sacred return to clarity. Because this is not just a YouTube channel, this is a movement, and you are not just a viewer, you are a builder of this inner revolution. And now I ask you, with sincerity and deep curiosity, not just as a closing question, but as a mirror, what have you been running from, and what will it feel like to finally stop running and stand still in the center of your own power? Let me know in the comments, not with cliches, but with truth. Because the comments section isn't just for reactions, it's a place for real reflection, shared insight, and mutual growth. And if you found value here, share this video with someone who's drowning in noise and secretly yearning for stillness. Because we don't grow by keeping wisdom to ourselves, we grow by spreading the flame. Subscribe, reflect, comment, and most of all, return to yourself.